Hello, everyone. Dr. Michelini here to do a little introduction to Macbeth, or what's also known as the Scottish play. Now, the reason why sometimes it's called the Scottish play is because Macbeth has a bad reputation. Actually, it is considered taboo to say the name of the play, Macbeth, in a theater. If you do so, you will curse the play that's about to happen. Legend has it, okay? So if you ever say Macbeth in a theater, what you got to do to make it even with the universe is leave the building, walk around it 3 times, spit over your shoulder, and shout an obscenity. And then you'll be right with the world and you'll be all set. So, Macbeth is one of those plays where it really benefits you to understand a little bit of what was going on in England at the time, okay? So you can see here at the time, right before Macbeth was written, we have England down here and Scotland up here. And these are 2 separate kingdoms at this time. This lady right here is Elizabeth I. She reigned England from 1558 to 1603. Now, she was known as the Virgin Queen because she never got married. At the time, women did not have a lot of power. They were considered definitely second-class citizens, if even that. And so as queen, she had a lot of political and feminist power, more so if she did not get married, okay? And the reason for that is a couple of things. One is there was a split in the church at the time, and Elizabeth I was Protestant. If she married, she would be marrying royalty from a surrounding country or another country in Europe, and all of those countries were Catholic. And because she would have to submit to her husband, England would then become Catholic. So that's a real bummer for her because she's Protestant, right? The second reason why she may have stayed single is because she was able to wield some political power. So when a kingdom thinks that they might be able to marry the Queen of England, they're going to be nice to them, right? So this maintained or extended a period of peace for that time. And that was really nice. There weren't wars because people were hoping to, have good relations so that maybe they could marry her and join their two kingdoms, or, have the unity between that country and England. Okay. The other reason is that she had a little bit more independence and power just as a woman without a man telling her what to do. So a lot of reasons to stay single as the queen, I would say. We don't know if she technically was a virgin or not, but she didn't have any kids. So because she wasn't married and she had no heirs, this is a problem long term. Her father was Henry VIII. He was Protestant, so she was Protestant. And to the north here, we have this very important guy, King James of Scotland. So King James of Scotland is a nephew to Elizabeth I, okay? He is also Protestant, which is good news, right? Because there's not a lot of Protestant leaders at the time. And that was, again, I can't emphasize enough, a really big split in the church, okay? So Protestants and Catholics are not getting along at this time. If you've heard of Bloody Mary, people are murdering each other over these things, okay? So when Queen Elizabeth I dies, they are looking for somebody who's Protestant to possibly take over. King James is looking like a really good candidate here because he's just to the north, he's Protestant, he could unite England and Scotland, and he has heirs. He has 2 sons, and he has a backup daughter just in case something happens to the 2 sons, okay? So they do this whole council where they try to consider who should be king of England after Queen Elizabeth dies, and they land on this guy. So in 1603, he becomes king. He unifies England and Scotland. This is the guy who is responsible for the King James version of the Bible, okay? Regardless of how you feel about religion, the leaders at the time, the royalty, definitely had their hands in whatever was going on with the Bible, okay? So the reason for the Protestant Catholic split in the first place is because King Henry wanted to divorce his wife, and that wasn't allowed in the Catholic Church. So he made a Protestant branch where he could divorce her for not giving him a son. Now we know that men are the ones who are responsible for the sex of the child anyway, right? Whether it's male or female. So that's the kind of thing that's happening here. He is, he wants a version of the Bible that is in his sort of favor. So that's where we end up with this King James version. That's very popular still. He is also obsessed with witchcraft. He wrote a book called Demonology, which was a how-to guide for finding witches. Okay. This witches, at the time were considered women who were a little bit out of the norm, and that you might see some of that in Macbeth this week. Okay. So what was Shakespeare up to? Well, under Queen Elizabeth, Shakespeare was part of this team called Lord Chamberlain's Men. They were being funded basically by this group who ultimately had ties to the crown. So he needs sponsorship from King James in order to continue writing plays and performing plays. So King James takes over 1603. Shakespeare starts writing Macbeth almost right away. Between 1603 and 1606, he writes this play that's totally focused on Scotland and witches, okay? So for lack of a better word, you could call him a little bit of a kiss ass or a brown noser here, okay? Excuse my language. It's first performed in 1606, and his group is successful in getting King James support, and they're renamed the King's Men instead of Lord Chamberlain's Men. So kind of funny. So you might be wondering, well, what's going on in this play that is so, suck up to King James type of thing? Well, there are witches in the play, okay? So I'm going to give you like a little bit of a preview. If you haven't started reading it yet, you will get to see a little bit about it now. The witches in the play are called the Weird Sisters, okay? And weird is spelled W-Y-R-D, but that's also meant to sound like weird sisters, like they're weird, okay? There is a homonym here where weird and fate at the time were synonymous. So you're also calling them sort of fates. There's a big debate in this play of whether these witches are fates or muses. Now, fates are entities in a story that control man's destiny. So they might say like, this is what's going to happen. And that's what happens, right? Because they're in control. They know the past, they know the present, they know the future. They are dictating. Muses are from Greek mythology. Now, these are in contrast, sort of inspirational. So they're guardians of the arts, and they can inspire a character to action, but they don't know everything about the past, present, and future, and they might only be able to lead events, but not necessarily dictate events. So as you read this play, think about this. This is one of the major themes in the play. How much control do these witches have, the Weird Sisters, and what's going on here? You'll also notice this picture here of the Weird Sisters has them sort of looking masculine. At the time, women were not allowed in Shakespeare's plays. So these were literally played by men with beards, and that would have added to the sort of weirdness of them and sort of making fun of them, making fun of women with facial hair, perhaps, or just making fun of weirder women. I'm not saying that they were weird. I'm saying that people were treating them in a derogatory way on stage, okay? So I don't think it's funny, but they thought it was funny at the time. So you can see how that plays out here in the picture. Okay, you can think about these questions if they're real or not, okay? Macbeth could be tied to them. Hecate, who is their leader, calls Macbeth a wayward son. Wayward at the time, lots of wordplay here. It's Shakespeare, so he's always playing with words. Also meant weird, so is she saying he's a weird son, perhaps? Think about that. The other major piece that you need to be aware of in this play is the theme of what is a man, okay? So as you move through this play, you will see commentary on what is a real man. Real men do this, real men do that. And some of our society today still has these sort of remnants of like what people thought during Shakespeare's time was a real man. Okay. So again, I'm not saying I agree with all this stuff. I'm just saying, this is some of the commentary at the time. So Lady Macbeth and Macbeth definitely have definitive thoughts on what is a man. These are some of the key quotes, all right, that you might go back and visit and see, what is happening here. Lady Macbeth is very critical of Macbeth. She sees men as sort of action oriented, of, men do it, They get the job done. They should also be able to have children, and Lady Macbeth and Macbeth do not have children. Macbeth sees a man as somebody who is honorable, maybe who does the right thing, and sees his wife as a more masculine person because she is so action oriented. Okay, so that about wraps up our little intro to Macbeth. I hope you enjoy the play. Keep an eye out for these fantastic themes, and I'll see you around.